At a dinner party, my girlfriend looked me in the eye and declared, "I doesn't date men who earn less than me," not knowing I had just signed a $540K offer letter. So I paid the entire bill, left my promotion contract on the table, and walked out before she even realized who she'd been dating. I'm Cameron, 31M, and I'm still processing what happened last night at a dinner party. Not sure if I handled this right or if I just nuked a 2-year relationship over my ego. I live in Seattle, work in tech as a senior director of product at a major company here. Just got promoted 2 weeks ago. Signed the offer letter on Friday. New compensation is $340K base salary plus $200K in annual stock grants. So about $540K total per year. It's a big jump from my previous director role. I've been dating Vanessa, 29F, for 2 years. She's a corporate lawyer at a mid-size firm here, makes around $185K as a 5th-year associate. We met through a mutual hiking group, hit it off, been together since. Here's the thing though, I don't think Vanessa actually knows what I do for a living, like, the specifics. Early on when we started dating, she asked what I do. I said I work in product management at a tech company. She nodded and the conversation moved on. I mentioned the company name once or twice, but she never seemed to recognize it. I have a psychology degree from UW, and when she saw it on my bookshelf, she asked if I was a school counselor. I said not exactly, but I didn't elaborate because it felt like bragging. Over 2 years, she's never really asked follow-up questions about my work. I mentioned once that I was doing user research with teenagers for a new app feature, and she said something like, "Oh, you work with students. That's nice." I didn't correct her because the conversation had already moved on, and bringing it back felt weird. I drive a 2018 Subaru. I rent a modest 1-bedroom in Capitol Hill. I wear jeans and hoodies most days because that's tech culture here in Seattle. I think she assumed I was living paycheck to paycheck or something. Maybe she thought I was a high school teacher? Teachers in Seattle average around $58K. I never corrected her assumptions because honestly, talking about money felt gauche. That's very Seattle, you don't flaunt wealth. Also, I have major imposter syndrome. I grew up working class in Tacoma. First person in my family to work a corporate job. My dad was a union electrician. I'm always worried people will think I'm showing off. Last night, our friends Ryan and Michelle hosted a dinner party at their place in Fremont. 6 of us total, 3 couples. Nice evening, catered Thai fusion, good wine, talking about hiking plans and work stuff. Around 8:30, the conversation shifted to relationships and money. Someone mentioned how her boyfriend always insists on paying for everything. Another couple talked about splitting expenses proportionally based on income. Then Vanessa spoke up. She said, and I quote, "I have a rule. I don't date men who make less money than I do. I need a partner, not someone who's financially dependent on me." She looked directly at me when she said it. The table went silent. Like, awkward silent. I just sat there. I didn't say anything. Our host quickly changed the subject to weekend plans. But I was processing. She thought I made less than her $185K. She thought I made maybe a third of what she does. And she just publicly stated that as some kind of standard she was generously overlooking by being with me. 2 years. 2 years together, and she never once asked me detailed questions about my actual job. Never looked at my LinkedIn. Never asked about my title or what product management actually means. She constructed an entire narrative about my life and income and never verified it. The dinner wound down around 10 p.m. Ryan mentioned splitting the catering cost. It was $420 total for the group. Vanessa started to say something about splitting our portion, but I cut her off. "I've got the whole bill," I said. I pulled out my Amex and paid the entire $420 plus a $100 tip. $520 total. Vanessa looked uncomfortable, but I waved off her protests. "It's fine. I wanted to treat everyone. The card I used was a black card. You need to make at least $250K annually to even qualify for one." As people were getting their coats to leave, I went to my jacket and pulled out a tri-folded document. I walked back to the dining table and placed it face up in the center, right next to the empty wine glasses. Then I headed for the door. Ryan, curious, opened the document. It was my offer letter from the promotion. Right there in the compensation section. $340,000 base salary, $200,000 annual stock grant. I heard Vanessa gasp. She grabbed the letter. I was at the door putting on my jacket. She called out, "Cam, is this real?" "Yep, accepted the offer on Friday. Start date is next month in the new role." "You never told me about this promotion. You never asked what I actually do for a living, Vanessa." I walked out, got in my Subaru and drove home while my phone started blowing up with her calls and texts. The messages ranged from "I didn't know, you never told me," to "that comment wasn't about you," to "you embarrassed me in front of our friends," to "please call me, we need to talk." I didn't respond. Around midnight I blocked her number. This morning I'm sitting here wondering if I'm the asshole. Yeah, she made a shitty comment. But was leaving that offer letter on the table and walking out too much? Did I publicly humiliate her to get back at her for publicly humiliating me? Part of me feels vindicated. Another part feels like maybe I should have just talked to her privately after. Reddit, did I overreact? Or did she show me exactly who she is? Update 1. So here's what's happened since Saturday night. Vanessa didn't stop with the blocked number. Sunday morning she started calling from different numbers, probably borrowed phones from friends. I let them all go to voicemail. Monday morning she showed up at my apartment building. I saw her name on the buzzer screen and didn't let her in. She waited outside for about 20 minutes, then left. The voicemails are a lot. She's crying, saying I humiliated her publicly, that what I did was cruel and calculated, that I deliberately hid my income for 2 years as some kind of test of her character, that she deserves a chance to explain. But here's the thing, she's also been talking to our mutual friends, and her version of events is very different from reality. According to her story, relayed to me by multiple people now, I deliberately concealed my income to test her. I lied about being a teacher. I let her believe I was struggling financially for 2 entire years, then ambushed her at a dinner party to make her look bad. She's positioning herself as the victim of my manipulation. Our friend group is legitimately splitting over this. Some people are buying her narrative. They're saying even if she was wrong about my income, the way I revealed it was unnecessarily cruel and designed to embarrass her. Others are pointing out that she made a pretty terrible comment in the first place, and that I never actually lied. She just never asked. David, a former co-worker of mine who was at the dinner, has been going to bat for me. He's pointed out to multiple people that I never once lied about my job, that Vanessa simply never asked detailed questions in 2 years, that my entire career is publicly visible on LinkedIn if she'd ever bothered to look. Ryan and Michelle, the hosts, are trying to stay neutral, but I can tell they're uncomfortable. Michelle texted me saying she feels awful that their dinner party turned into this. I've been doing a lot of thinking about the past 2 years, replaying conversations, and honestly, the signs were all there that she had no idea what I actually do. Early dates. I told her I work in product management. She said, "Oh, like products in stores?" I said not exactly, but she'd already moved on to talking about her law school experiences. I didn't push it. She's seen my psychology degree. She asked if I was a school counselor. I said not exactly, and changed the subject because I felt weird talking about myself. She's heard me mention working with student users. I was doing user research with teenagers for an app feature. She clearly heard students and decided I must work at a school. I've mentioned my company name maybe 3 times over 2 years. She never recognized it or asked what they do. She's seen me take work calls at odd hours. Product emergencies don't care about time zones. She never questioned why a teacher would be on calls at 11 p.m. She's definitely seen stock vesting statements when I've had mail out. I always assumed she knew what they were, but looking back, maybe she thought they were retirement account statements or something? Last December, my company had a big holiday party. She couldn't come because her law firm had their party the same night. She chose her firm's party without hesitation. I remember being a little hurt that she didn't even seem conflicted about it. Now I'm wondering if she thought her party was higher status, and mine was just some casual teacher thing. The promotion she's mad I didn't tell her about? I've been at this company for 7 years. I've been promoted 4 times. I went from product manager to senior product manager to director to senior director. Does she think teachers get promoted 4 times in 7 years? Here's what really gets me. I've paid for nice dinners without hesitation. I paid for a weekend trip to Vancouver last spring. I bought her a $400 handbag for her birthday last year. I rent in Capitol Hill, which is expensive as hell, $2,200 a month for a one-bedroom. I own my car outright. At no point did she think, maybe I should verify my assumptions about his finances. I think she convinced herself I was stretching my budget to impress her, that I was living paycheck to paycheck but putting on a good front. And she felt generous for staying with someone she thought earned so much less. That comment at dinner wasn't just stating a preference. It was her asserting the financial superiority she imagined she had over me. Someone in the comments on my last post asked if I'm sure she actually thought I was a teacher. I pulled up our text history. Last March, she texted me about her school loans being done in 3 more years, then added, "At least I'll be done before retirement. Unlike teachers, LOL." She thought I was a teacher. She 100% thought that. And you know what? If she'd asked me directly at any point, "What exactly do you do? What's your title? What does product management mean?" I would have told her, gladly. But she never asked. The friend who was at dinner, Sophie, one of Vanessa's law school friends, reached out to me yesterday. She said that after I left, the table had a long discussion about what happened. Vanessa apparently tried to argue that I'd lied to her for 2 years. Sophie said she pointed out that Vanessa never asked me basic questions about my career, that it's on her LinkedIn profile, that I never claimed to be a teacher. Sophie said Vanessa got defensive and called an Uber. On the ride home, she called Sophie crying. Sophie told her the comment she made was cruel, and that she embarrassed me before I ever did anything to her. I don't know, man. I'm angry. I'm hurt. But I'm also questioning myself. Should I have corrected her assumptions earlier? Did my modesty and discomfort with talking about money set this whole thing up to fail? My mom called me yesterday after I told her what happened. She said something that hit hard. "That girl spent 2 years with you and never got curious enough to ask what you actually do all day. That's not love, honey. That's convenience." Update 2. Phone's been charging at my desk all day, so I finally have time to write this update. A lot has happened. First, the dinner party aftermath. Ryan finally told me what went down after I left. I asked him not to tell me initially because I was trying to move on, but curiosity got the better of me. Apparently after I walked out, Vanessa just stood there holding my offer letter staring at it. Sophie asked her, "Did you seriously not know what Cameron does for a living?" Vanessa tried to explain that I told her I work with products, and she thought that meant retail. That I mentioned students, so she assumed teaching. David, my former co-worker who was there, said, "Vanessa, he's been a director for over 2 years. It's on his public LinkedIn profile. The promotion to senior director was announced internally last month." She apparently said she doesn't use LinkedIn much, thought it was just for job searching. Michelle asked her, "In 2 years, you never once looked at his LinkedIn? Never asked him directly about his job title? What he does day to day?" Vanessa got defensive, said she asked early on and I was vague about it. Which, okay, fair. I probably was vague. But she never followed up. Not once in 2 years. Ryan explained that working with students in tech means user research, studying how teenagers use apps. Vanessa apparently looked embarrassed. Then Sophie, her own friend, said something that made Vanessa leave. Sophie told her, "Van, that comment you made wasn't just stating your standards. You were putting Cameron down publicly. You were saying he was financially beneath you while he sat right there. And you were completely wrong." Vanessa tried to argue that I'd lied by omission for 2 years, that I let her believe something false. Michelle apparently said, "There's a difference between being modest and someone making assumptions. He never claimed to be a teacher. You heard fragments and built a story and never verified it." Vanessa called an Uber and left. Sophie told me she called crying on the way home, saying I'd publicly humiliated her. Sophie pointed out that Vanessa humiliated me first. I just had the receipts to back up my response. The friend group has basically fractured. A few people think I was justified. A few think we both handled it badly. A couple think I was deliberately cruel. I don't really care anymore, honestly. Here's the wild part. Vanessa is engaged. I found out through Instagram 3 days ago. She started dating some finance guy she met at her gym. I don't know exact timeline, But based on her posts, they went on their first date maybe a week after our dinner party incident. 4 weeks later, right before Christmas, he proposed. She posted a photo of the ring with a caption about finally finding a partner who matches my ambition and success. The ring is massive. The guy drives a Porsche. His Instagram is full of gym selfies and photos of his car and watch collection. Sophie texted me when she saw the announcement. She said, "She's saving face. She can't admit she made a mistake with you, so she's pretending she traded up." I don't think Vanessa is happy. I think she's embarrassed and trying to prove something. But that's not my problem anymore. I've been in therapy the past few weeks. My company has great mental health benefits, so I started seeing a counselor. We've been talking about why I stayed with someone who didn't ask about my life, why I was so uncomfortable sharing my success that I hid behind vague answers. My therapist asked me a tough question. If someone doesn't ask you about your work for 2 years, what does that tell you about their interest in you as a person? It tells me they're not that interested. Vanessa was in love with the idea of being generous by dating someone less successful. She liked feeling superior. When that illusion shattered, she couldn't handle it. The guy she's marrying now is everything she claimed to want. High income, flashy, ambitious, talks about money constantly. I genuinely hope it works out for her, but I suspect within 6 months, she'll realize that flashy isn't the same as substance. I went home to Tacoma for Christmas. Told my parents the whole story over dinner. My dad, the retired electrician, said something perfect. "You don't need someone who looks down on where you came from." My mom added, "And you definitely don't need someone who doesn't ask you questions." They're right. I'm doing okay. Work is busy with the new senior director role, onboarding new team members, planning Q1 strategy, 3 product launches coming up. Keeping busy helps. I don't miss Vanessa. I miss the idea of having a partner, but I don't miss her specifically. That probably tells me everything I need to know. Someone in my last post asked if I have regrets. Only one. I regret not noticing sooner that she didn't care enough to ask. Final update. Professionally, things are great. My senior director role has been successful. Led 3 major product launches in 2025. My team grew from 30 to 45 people. 2 weeks ago, I got promoted again to VP of Product. New compensation is $425K base plus $350K in stock, so about $775K total. The company's growing fast, and the stock value keeps increasing. I'm thriving in the expanded role. Still have imposter syndrome sometimes, but therapy helped a lot with that. Speaking of therapy, I did 6 months of weekly sessions. Now I'm on bi-weekly maintenance. Major insight was that I wasn't being modest about my success. I was hiding it because I was afraid people only wanted me for my money. By hiding it, I prevented any genuine connection. I've learned to find a healthier middle ground between bragging and being invisible. About Vanessa, she got married to Trent, the finance guy, in May. Courthouse wedding, moved really fast. From what I hear through the grapevine, Sophie still occasionally updates me. The marriage isn't going well. Apparently he's everything Vanessa claimed to want. High income, ambitious, flashy. But the reality is he's self-absorbed, works constantly, treats her more like an accessory than a partner. She's miserable but won't admit publicly that she made a mistake. In October, Sophie met Vanessa for coffee. Vanessa apparently admitted the marriage wasn't what she expected. She complained that Trent works all the time, never asks about her day, makes everything about himself. Sophie pointed out that's what focusing purely on someone's success markers looks like. Vanessa acknowledged that she messed up with me, that I was actually a partner and she didn't realize what she had. Sophie agreed, bluntly. I ran into Vanessa once, in November. I was at Victrola coffee shop on Pike, and she walked in with a friend. We made eye contact. She came over. Awkward small talk. She showed me her wedding ring. Asked if I was seeing anyone. I said yes. She looked sad. Long pause. Then she left. Here's the good part. I am seeing someone. Her name is Priya. She's 28, a data scientist at a different tech company here in Seattle. We met at an industry conference in September. She came up to me after a panel I was on about product development and data integration. First conversation, she asked detailed questions about my role, my company, my team size, the challenges I'm facing. She was genuinely interested in my answers. We talked for 30 minutes about methodology and frameworks. We exchanged contact info professionally. A week later, I asked her out for coffee. We talked for 3 hours. She told me about her work in machine learning for healthcare applications. I explained my product philosophy. She asked thoughtful questions that Vanessa never asked in 2 entire years. Second date was at a nice restaurant. She offered to split the bill. I said I'd get it. She insisted she'd get the next one. She followed through on that. Fourth date, we were walking around Green Lake after dinner. She asked if she could bring up a potentially awkward topic. I said sure. She told me she'd seen my LinkedIn profile, saw I was a senior director at a major company, really impressive career trajectory. Asked if the income difference bothered me, since she makes about $180K and I make significantly more. I actually laughed. Told her I appreciated someone asking instead of assuming. She said salary was irrelevant to her. She cares about whether someone is interesting and kind. That directness was so refreshing after years of assumptions and silence. We've been together officially since October. 6 months now. Taking it at a measured pace, no rush. She met my parents over Christmas. They love her, especially appreciate that she asks questions and listens to the answers. I met her parents in January. They're first-generation immigrants who value education and character over status. The difference between Priya and Vanessa is night and day. Priya celebrates my professional wins enthusiastically. She shares her struggles openly and asks for support when she needs it. She insists on proportional cost sharing for dates despite the income gap. She doesn't care what car I drive or where I live or what I wear. She values curiosity, kindness, and growth mindset. In December, my company had its holiday party, the same event Vanessa skipped 2 years ago because her firm's party was the same night. I brought Priya as my date. She met my team, my executives, engaged intelligently with everyone. The CEO's wife later told me she really liked Priya. After the party, Priya said, "I'm glad I got to see how much your team respects you. That means everything about what kind of leader you are." Vanessa never would have said that. Vanessa never asked to attend a work event. Vanessa never asked about my team or my leadership or what I actually do all day. Sophie texted me last week after seeing Priya's photo on my Instagram. Said she looks great and seems really genuine. Mentioned that Vanessa still occasionally asks about me. I told Sophie I hope Vanessa finds happiness. But I've found mine. Sophie said I'm showing more grace than Vanessa deserves. I said everyone deserves grace. Not everyone deserves a second chance.